another episode of Hobby Night School. We are very, very excited and honored to have Jim Garrigan from Invisible Vets joining us tonight. He's going to talk a little bit about what his project is, what they're doing within the community, and how you can help benefit vets in our country. So, without further ado, Jim, I would love for you to introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Garrigan. I am the founder and executive director of Invisible Vets. We are an IRS 501c3, which means we are a nonprofit. We do not earn anything. All the money that is donated to us, all the funds that are raised, go directly into the mission and to the operating costs. And we are able to also give tax donation deduction letters at the end of the year for folks who do donate to us. So our mission started out back in 2016, primarily to take care of homeless veterans, those veterans who, for whatever reason, can't reintegrate back into society when they get out of service, struggle to find their identity, think that we have forgotten them. And, I have to say we, because even though I'm an Army veteran myself, I saw it every single day that there just wasn't an understanding of what our servicemen and women were going through in this generation, in this time frame, and what the modern service is. It's even different than when I served, and I did 11 and a half years active, and the rest, in the guard and the reserve and the other ways before I medically retired. But it's so different today. So serving homeless veterans was the way we began. And it quickly evolved into presenting memorial casket flags for families touched and affected by veteran suicide, to finding out that there were so many families that were in need at the holidays and weren't able to provide even the basic Christmas to their kids for usually a situation that was out of their control, not looking for a handout, but just had something that happened that this particular year they couldn't do anything. And then when funds were available, we would provide micro grants that would help them to either stave off a disconnect of a utility or help them avoid eviction, or even go to meet somebody at a Walmart and fill up their tank of gas, or meet them at a pharmacy and buy a prescription that they just couldn't afford. There are things that not naive to be able to say that, it's unique to a service member, unique to a veteran. Even civilians have all these things. But being a veteran, having served myself, I just have a heart. And we founded this to take care of those veterans that at the time I felt like society had forgotten. And there's a backstory to why I founded Invisible Vets, and if you'd like me to share that, I can be brief, but it's, it explains my passion.
So I definitely want to hear that. And then I would like to go into, people are probably wondering, why are you talking about this particular charity on a sports card page? So I definitely want to hear your backstory. And then I want to talk about what the hobby means to Invisible Vets.
Absolutely. So back in 2016, I was working for an organization. I was the director of the Military Families Ministry for this organization, and it was widespread where I was. It was over 144 churches of all denominations coming together as an association. And our mission for my ministry that was designed was to take care of the families of deployed service members. We had Air National Guardsmen, we had reserves, and we had Army National Guard in the area. And their lives changed when their service member got put on orders and left their civilian jobs, and the pay and the comfort of that took on the military pay and went and served our country in whatever situation they were on orders for. So our job was to make sure that the needs were met until the service member came home. But one day I had a gentleman come in. He was a homeless veteran. And he came up to me, came to the office, and he said, "Hey, I haven't eaten in days, and I do have a job interview, but I can't get anywhere." So we had a food pantry, and our food pantry was a warehouse, and we serviced all 144 churches in the pantries, took them out, got them 3 days worth of food, gave them a bus pass. At the end of the day, my boss called me in and said, "Don't do that again. I don't want to be known for taking care of veterans." Now he said homeless veterans, but I'm going to give him this moment. And I was shocked and dismayed. I understand taking care of the component and the family of the active duty, but this veteran was invisible. By the end of the day, I resigned, and I met with a very dear friend that night. And the next day we founded Invisible Vets, not even knowing what it was going to be. But she said to me, this friend of mine said, "I don't know what you're going to do for veterans, Jim, but this is the right thing." And Invisible Vets was born.
Wow. That's a lot.
That is an incredible story.
I have to know, did he get the job?
Oh, that veteran, absolutely.
Yes.
And not only did he get the job, but he became one of our first volunteers at any of our dignity bag distributions or our coat distributions. This fella was the first one to say, "Hey, when you've got something going on, let me know." And the story of that is there are so many people that this organization has been able to serve that then have come back and said, "Now, how can we give back?" To the point where one of our board members was one of the very first spouses that we took care of after they lost their spouse to veteran suicide. It is just this give back, this "I've got your six" mentality that every service member has, no matter what branch. But let me tell you what you really want to know, and that's how this community, your community, has embraced us. And I will begin with the Invisible Vets motto. If you go to Facebook and you look up Invisible Vets, you're going to see our motto. And this came to me in the very early days, and it is, "When community comes together, great things get done." Now, the sports card hobby and the sports card community, which is nothing like I remember when I put cards with clothespins on my bike spokes back in my early days, has embraced us when a breaker reached out to me in late February, early March, and said, "You know what? We were looking for somebody else to support another charity this year. And we came across your page and we did a deep dive. And we saw that you guys have touched so many veterans, so many families, but during COVID, you struggled." And that's the truth. During COVID, philanthropic giving dried up because, understandably so, businesses and corporations threw those dollars, those philanthropic dollars that were budgeted, into their own employees to take care of them. Makes perfect sense. But it never really recovered for those of us who are grassroots 501c3s that don't seek the federal funds, the grants, but are just supported by the people. So somehow they came across us, social media, and realized this. And they said, "We want to help." And we think that our community, the sports cards, is a way to do it. And immediately they explained to me how it had changed, how, these pieces of cardboard that I was collecting and using for noise, or, through my association with minor league baseball, I would just collect the players I was affiliated with just for fun. But it had become investment opportunities. It had become something that actually got people through COVID and, maybe flourished then. I basically just learning now the backstory to how the hobby's become what it is today. but they laid out our community is loving, our community is giving, we are selfless. And if you allow us to get behind you and support your mission, we believe the entire hobby is going to help. And let me tell you, that was an understatement, because it's not that we have tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in that are going directly to the mission, but we have people reaching out from all across this country saying, hey, how can we help? I mean, you folks are prime examples. We meet happenstance when I'm visiting someone, and from there, you pick up the standard and say, how can we serve? And it's not just, Jim, we want to get behind you and we want to donate some cards, but you said, how can we do this in our community? That's so much beyond the financial support that is needed.
It's been incredible. I have to tell you, it was when we ran into each other again at the Johnny Ford card show, because you were set up next to my table, and we made a video together, and I posted that, and my friend had left one of his cards in my case, and I sold it later that day. And he messaged me. He's like, hey, that card you sold, I want you to take the money and donate it to Jim. He had never met you. He was a veteran too. And he was like, that's an incredible thing. I love that the hobby where I spend my time and I collect and I spend my money, that I can now take some of my cards and donate them, or, the profits from some of the sales of my cards and donate to something that's near and dear to me. And I know it's going for a good use and to the right people.
When you came up to me at that subsequent card show in Lansing and said, hey, here's money, and you told me that story, I wear my emotions and my heart on my sleeve. I make no excuses for it, and I never will. Those who know me in my inner circle, they always refer to me, if you've ever seen the movie Varsity Blues and the character Billy Bob, and they simply say, and Billy Bob cried, and that's me. But when you shared that with me, it could have been anybody, Courtney, anybody whatsoever. But when you shared with me that it was somebody in the hobby who also was a veteran and had that tie, it just makes sense. And then I'll share this with you. In all of our years, 2016 to present, our best year of raising funds was less than $16,000 for the year. And 12 of that came from a board member who did a golf outing. Best year. At that very first card show, that was eclipsed. Think about that.
It makes me so, it makes me so proud of the hobby, because I feel like, and I know that people are like, oh, hobby positivity is so, gauche or whatever. Everybody's sick of hearing it. But there's so much good that happens in this space. And there are truly so many good people that you don't hear these stories. You don't hear the good that people are doing and helping. And the fact that you can donate a card, you could take a slab that you have, you could send it to Jim, and he can send you a tax write-off for that card. That's it. Like, you can do something generous and good for humanity and still get a tax write-off for it. Like, that is a win-win-win, in my opinion.
I have yet to have a single person ask for the tax write-off or how to go about doing that. Not one person. People want to do it because it's the right thing to do. Before we go any further, I do want to thank you for your service, Jim, and for spearheading such a initiative that's clearly near and dear to your heart. I think, on a side note, I think our country hasn't done the greatest job of supporting all the men and women who have fought for our right to sit here and, talk about cards and live our life. And on that day when you did what I estimate is the right thing to do, even though it was against company policy or whatever, and you chose to step away, there's a lot of people out there who are truly grateful that you did what was right and not what was easy. And every day there's people struggling, going through something, and it's just it's good when you can have a positive impact on somebody's life. And these are people who have made sacrifices and gone through things that Courtney and myself will never know. We've had relatives who have served, and I just think that I think it's pretty incredible that you did that. And I don't, it's cool about the hobby and all. I think that if there was more people who cared about others in the world, it would just be a better place. And don't let anybody give you a hard time about crying, because I cry all the time.
He does. He does. He is a crier too. And his whole thing is making me feel like crying right now. I'm going to tell you, I agree with Jeremy. We set up your donation box at our booth at Shipshewana. We had it set up, and people just walked by and put money in it over and over. Not one single person asked how they can get something out of that. They just did it, like Jeremy said, because it was the right thing. And to me, it's great that there's that benefit. If somebody wants to donate $10,000 worth of cards, and that's something that, maybe they do need the tax write-off for, that's wonderful that that's an option. But for like the average regular person like us, we donate money, we donate cards, we'll do whatever. I don't care if we get a tax write-off for it. That's not why we're doing it. And so to Jeremy's point, that is truly, it's been an amazing thing to see since we have linked up with you. We've done other charity, I hate to call it charity because it feels charitable kind of events with like we did it with DACC and other like animal things. And so it is important to us to find things where people truly care and are doing it the right way and with good intentions. And you don't always know that when you're donating to things. And knowing you personally, I'm so impressed by everything that you've done. Like, very impressed.
Well, if you'll allow me, I want to just take that in a direction, because I never used to be a person of integrity. I was the kind of guy, and I'm going to be completely transparent, that you allowing this conversation, it's not my soapbox, but I want folks to know that, one, redemption is something that a lot of folks don't allow in this country. You do anything wrong, anybody deems anything wrong, and you're done. That's just the thought process. That's how we live. But I used to be the guy that would watch you drop a $20 bill, hope you didn't realize it, so I could come and pick it up and have it myself. I was the guy who, would look for every loophole, every angle to get something for me. And then something happened to me. There was a traumatic event in my life. I had something happen to me in service that rocked my world and changed everything for me. And even with this organization, there is scrutiny. There are people who come at you. There are folks who say, are you really doing what you say you're doing? Or there's been some really bad organizations out there that have been proven that they don't. I can sit here and tell you right now that we literally had an investigation to prove that we did a forensic accounting from day one to present to prove that we have done everything that we've said that we've done, to be upfront and honest, transparent, crystal clear, dot every I, cross every T, and count every penny. You have to. The thing for me is, I wish I could wake up in the morning and not have a purpose because of what our mission is. But we're never going to get rid of veteran homelessness or homelessness in general. We are never going to stop the veteran suicides. But it's the families that we have to come up alongside. It is the veterans that we need to give them some of the things that they need while they're on the streets, for whatever the reason is they choose, or those that are like me that have struggled with having the different thought process and not being upfront and honest and a person of integrity, that we have to give them a reason to get their dignity back, have self-pride. I mean, we call our bags dignity bags. It's, I don't know, it's very difficult to think about where I came from and know that I'm able to sit here today and say, go to Facebook and look at some of the lives that we've touched. Not me, some of the lives that we've touched, wishing we didn't ever have to, but knowing it helped them to the point that then they say, now how can we help? Something to that.
Your story and talking about growth and change and redemption is something that I feel like a lot of people in this space can really relate to. It is hard to be that honest. And I appreciate you, being vulnerable in that way, because in my opinion, there is so much integrity in being like, I made bad choices. I wasn't a perfect person, but I want to be a better person and I want to do better for others. I am very just blown away with your ability to, own up to that and take accountability. And, you talked about there's not a lot of people that are willing to give people a second chance or let people have redemption. And the thing is it starts with accountability. If you want redemption, you have to take accountability and you have to be honest, like sometimes brutally honest. And you just were. And that is so really just not something you see all of the time. And I thank you for that. And I appreciate that. And it makes me have even more faith in your in your mission, if that is possible, which I didn't think it was.
It was very hard in Northeast Indiana where we founded, have an amazing board of directors that kept me accountable, but they said yes to everything I asked for. And, I'm in Michigan now, and I'll tell you why I'm in Michigan. It's the board of directors and my kids at one point saw, and they said, hey, this is all taking a toll on you. Go do something for you. My best friend from the Freedom Riders of Northeast Indiana said, you've said that you were going to step away and do something for you more times than we can count. And I don't. But then, when somebody who loves you says, we're going to lose you if you don't. It's the old adage, the half glass full, can you serve from not being at your best? So I moved up here. Within a week of living in the Lansing area, I got a Facebook message that there was a veteran suicide. Hell, if I wasn't right back in it. and here we are again, and we're rebuilding the board, but we have a footprint in 19 states where we have served people in 19 states. We have board members and board members or people contemplating being board members that are coming on in multiple states. And not only do we have people in this community, in the sports card hobby, saying, how can we donate? But now they're saying, how can we do what you're doing here? Think about it. Think about a nonprofit where somebody says, how can we franchise what you're doing? How can we duplicate it? To be able to network in that way and say, you know what, you sent me a $1,200 card to be used in an event later on to raise funds for this mission. But she also said, what goes into a bag? How do you know who to give it to? How do we go and present a memorial casket flag? you can get all the money in the world, but you can't get people with the compassion and the heart to do that. Invisible Vets carried a lot of debt through COVID. So I'll be candid with that as well. Got people to pay back. Myself, there is net proceeds will go towards the mission, but it wouldn't have survived through COVID without certain people opening up their pockets and getting us through. But we have people right now saying, here, I'm going to turn my computer and hope I don't screw this up. But this is just something that comes in. I get packages every day, and most of them are base cards, but they're going into team bags, and those are being given to kids whose families are touched by veteran suicide. It's a breaker who sent me unopened boxes, and I went to a funeral and I handed out those packs, and they were opened on the spot, and a player was in there that was the dad's favorite player. And the kid said, I'm going to have a piece of dad with me from now on. It's like, how do you explain that?
Wow. So that's incredible. What can people do? What can people do to help support you? What's next for Invisible Vets in this space? What can we as a community do to rally around you, around the vets, around the families?
Well,
give us
obviously,
a synopsis of how we can help.
Okay, obviously we can talk about the money, but let me do this first. Anybody across this country is going to come across a veteran in need at some point. If anybody wants to know how we do what we do and represent Invisible Vets in their community, message me, call me. My phone number is out there on Facebook. I can say it right here if you don't mind. Actually, we hold up the card. Right? Here, I'll do this. That's my phone number. That's my email. That's my home address. So you reach out to me. I will tell you exactly what's done. When funds are available, we will provide and drop ship the flags to you and the supplies. If you want to get them yourself and do things on behalf of Invisible Vets, I will send you the IRS letter, the EIN, all of that. To be able to do the work is more important to me than the money coming in, because we'll find a way. And if I have to give my last dime again, I'm going to, because that's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. As far as raising funds, this is the way we're going to be able to do this and retire the debt that we already have. We're doing local card shows, and I'm hooked up with the fellas from TNT Submissions right here in Portage. The irony of that, right down the street from me, which, by the way, I'm working for them now. Little plug. They are taking me to all the card shows locally, and we are setting up, and we are doing very well. We're able to whittle away at the debt, but we are also able to place orders for memorial casket flags. I'm going to turn this again and just give this. This is how I live at my house. So let's see if you can see. We've got socks, we've got coats. So bags are being built, and they're in my car. They get passed out when I come across someone, but we need to do this on a much bigger scale. And me sending letters to corporations saying, hey, will you donate product now? That doesn't happen the way it used to. Folks want money. In fact, we had a relationship with a flag company, a Made in America flag company, for our memorial casket flags. And I got a message from them within the last few weeks saying, we can't do it anymore. We can't give you the discount. We can't give you flags because there's a shortage of flags across the country and we need to maximize our bottom line. So I've got to go out and find another. And I hate that I even have to say that because that means that we need flags. And
That's really
folks
disappointing
might,
to hear. That you told me that at the last show. I was very disappointed to hear that. Jim, I appreciate you for coming on and joining us. I appreciate everything you're doing. I will link, because I know you don't want to spend money on a website, so I will link the Facebook for Invisible Vets. I will all the information that Jim held up, I will have in the show notes, all of their information, how you can reach out, whatever you would like to do, you can reach out to Jim. He's incredibly responsive. He always responds to me whenever I message him with anything, and he will definitely reach out to you. Jeremy, is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I would just say that you can reach out to us as well, and we'll help facilitate in any way possible.
Absolutely. Jim, is there anything you'd like to close with?
No, I'll do this real quick because you asked and I did not say it. If you want to participate and you want to help right now, if you want to send us cards that you believe will move at card shows, valued 50 up to a few $100s, great. We will take them. We will put them in the shows. We will use those for supplies. But we are actually at the end of late summer, early fall, going to do a large mystery pack event with a bigger breaker. And we'll announce that once things are official and firmed up. But we are looking for those chase cards, those mystery pack cards, the $1,000 to $2,500 cards, or even the higher ones. So, if you're what they call the big dog and you are looking for that tax write-off, we had somebody at Lansing who said, why am I selling my cards? Why don't I give them all to you? Now, whether that comes to fruition or not, we don't know. But if you want to do that, the tax deduction letter is there, and it is for the way it works with this. It's for the value of the card when you donate it. This is a speculation hobby, but it's the value of the card when you donate it. You'll get the tax write-off for that, and it can be cumulative throughout the year. So that's the immediate way you can help, and the money will be distributed. And again, I need to be very, very candid. It will be net proceeds from everything, but we're an open book. You'll see where the money goes if you ask. I have to do that. That's the only way I can sleep.
We genuinely appreciate you, Jim, and this is an excellent cause. Jeremy and I will be donating cards to it. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you at National.
You will see me at National. We will have a table.
Excellent. So make sure you find Jim, talk to him, introduce yourself, and get to know him because he is a great, great human being. Thank you all for joining us. And until next time, have a wonderful day and, maybe do something nice for somebody else. So bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.